Mayka Kukucova was born on May 25, 1990 in Slovakia, a country located in Central Europe with a population of over 5 million inhabitants. She is the only child of Lubomir and Danka Kukukova. Since she was little, Mayka liked to take pictures and wanted to be a model. She even participated in some fashion shows and did some photo shoots in her childhood. Already in her teens, she got jobs as a bikini model for some famous magazines. Although Mayka had no problems getting jobs in the area she wanted to work in, she felt that the opportunities in the country were few compared to other countries in Europe. It was then that, at age 18, she decided to move to England with the intention of getting better jobs and who knows become a world-renowned model. Well, let's say that in a way she succeeded, but not as a model. In England, Mayka moved to Bristol, a prosperous city located in the southwest of the country, with a population of around 430,000 inhabitants. There, she got several modeling jobs, but none of them as big as she expected. Because of this, Mayka had to work at other jobs to supplement her income, as the modeling jobs she got didn't pay enough for her to support herself. She even worked as a chambermaid, cook, and saleswoman to be able to pay her bills. Things weren't easy for Mayka, and it seemed that her dream of becoming a great model was getting further and further away. But shortly after, more precisely in the year 2012, Mayka met a man called Andrew Bush, better known as Andy, as we can say that she got the big luck with that, lucky for her and unlucky for him. Andrew put an end to all of Mayka's financial worries, as he was a successful businessman and he was very generous to her. He was known to be vain, a womanizer, and not a discreet man. The 48-year-old British millionaire always wore designer clothes and lived in a mansion with 5 bedrooms and many luxurious details, with an estimated value of more than €1 million. This manor is located in rural Monmouthshire, one of Wales' 22 self-governing subdivisions. The jewelry businessman owned 4 companies. 3 of them were inactive, with the trading company Bigwig Enterprises being the only one open. Andrew also owned several other homes and a fleet of luxury cars, including a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, and a Hummer. These 3 vehicles alone added up to more than €1,500,000. Andy was married for many years to journalist Samantha Mason, and from that marriage, his only daughter, Ellie Mason Bush, was born. After the divorce, Andrew began to date younger women, until in 2012, as I mentioned, he and Mayka met. The two started dating and the man gave the young woman a job at one of his jewelry stores. According to Ellie, Andrew's daughter, her father seemed madly in love with the model. He always gave her presents, and it was common for the two to travel to the most beautiful places in Europe, where they were always seen hugging and smiling, in a relationship that seemed to overflow with happiness. Ellie also said that Mayka drew a lot of attention wherever she went due to her beauty, but her father didn't care. Quite the contrary. He liked that attention. He liked people to look and see that he had a very beautiful woman by his side. At first, it seemed that the two were made for each other, but over time, the relationship became turbulent. Mayka started to show excessive jealousy and always wanted to check Andrew's cell phone and computer to see if he wasn't up to no good. Soon, she revealed herself to be a possessive and violent person. Close people reported several occasions when Mayka demonstrated her angry behavior. One of Andrew's sisters, named Rachel, said that once they were shopping and there were a lot of things that Mayka wanted to buy, but Andrew said that it would not be possible that day. The young woman didn't accept her partner's negative response. She started screaming and threw a bag at the man, leaving in the wake, and was only found hours later. Still, according to Rachel, episodes like this have become increasingly common and frequent. As the crisis increased, Andrew realized the gravity of the situation, but tried to ignore it, believing he could change the young woman. For people close, however, this was impossible. According to Andrew's family, Mayka acted immaturely and couldn't control her anger. On one occasion, she even put Andrew's laptop under an open faucet with the intention of destroying the device. In another, Mayka pretended that the taxi she took had had an accident on the way, so that everyone would worry about her and ask if she was okay. Later, it was discovered that it was all a lie, and some people even thought that maybe she had a mental disorder. According to reports, Mayka was even jealous of Andrew's relationship with his family, especially Ellie, the man's daughter, who even had to move house because of this. It is also said that the model could not bear to see photos of Andrew's family scattered around the house where she lived with him. And to resolve this, she removed all the pictures whose photos were not of the couple. At this point, Andrew had already realized that the sweet and kind girl he had met months before was no longer the same, and that in fact, she was wearing a mask when they started their relationship. The situation was obviously no longer sustainable, and in September 2013, something happened that would be the last straw for the end of the relationship. That day, Andrew came home and found Mayka handcuffed with a pillow over her head. The young woman claimed that she had been dominated by several armed robbers. The police were then called, and after investigating what happened, they found no evidence and no witnesses that could help them locate the criminals. It was as if the crime had not even happened. Andrew's family suspected from the start that it was all a hoax to prevent the man from traveling to the Middle East for work, as the passport was among the items allegedly taken by the assailants. Family members also suspected what happened due to the fact that everything happened when Mayka was alone in the house, something that, according to them, was very convenient. According to family members, the alleged theft took place at a time when the two's relationship was basically over. After this episode, Mayka got clingier with Andrew, saying that she didn't want to be alone anymore and that she couldn't sleep at night either, as if she was traumatized. A month after the alleged theft, the couple broke up. Mayka didn't accept the termination and posted on her YouTube account a series of videos of the couple kissing and hugging, as well as captures of the loving text messages they exchanged. In the end, she begged the man to forget everything bad, saying the days without him were meaningless and that she wanted the two to be together forever. Andrew didn't pay attention to Mayka's continued appeals to return and decided that it was time to move on with his life. But even so, Mayka kept insisting, even chasing the man a few times. Also, according to people close to the young woman, she was so shaken by the end that she didn't want to work anymore and almost didn't leave the house unless it was to go after her ex. Andrew then decided to notify the authorities about his ex-girlfriend's behavior, and a restraining order was issued in an attempt to keep her away. After that, Mayka returned to Slovakia, got a job, and even started dating a guy named Peter Kucharik, a 20-year-old bodybuilder who worked as a bodyguard. It seemed that things were returning to normal for the young woman, and from those who saw it from the outside, they noticed that Mayka looked better. But deep down she wasn't well at all, and her obsession with Andrew only increased. In December 2013, more specifically at Christmas, the businessman met Mayka Kukucova, a 23-year-old Russian student who worked in a coffee shop in England. She was studying human resources at the University of the West of England. Andrew and Maria soon fell in love and started dating, thus showing that Mayka was really out of the businessman's plans. The couple posted several photos of trips and parties on their social media, which made Mayka indignant and very jealous. The young woman, despite having to stay away from the ex due to the restraining order, frequently observed him through the networks. Mayka obviously hadn't got over the relationship and wasn't willing to give up Andrew and move on with her life. She then began to come up with a plan that she decided to put in practice in April 2014. Upon learning that Andrew was traveling with his current girlfriend, Mayka went to one of the men's mansions located in Costa del Sol, Spain. It is said she stayed at the property for 2 days waiting for the couple to return from their trip, and only managed to gain access to the inside of the house because she had copies of the keys, which Andrew didn't even remember. At dawn on April 5, 2014, Andrew Bush and Mayka Kukucova returned from their trip, landing in Spain. The couple laughed and relaxed as they entered the men's mansion, and little did the two know that Mayka was already there, waiting for them. Maria says that as soon as Andrew turned on the lights, she knew something was wrong. According to her, there were panties and bras hanging on clothes rack right at the entrance. Her heart raced and she had the feeling that there was someone in the house. She followed Andrew, who entered the property further. They found a suitcase on the floor with a pair of high heels inside. Then Maria turned and went up the stairs. When she reached the top, she ran into Mayka. Still according to her, Mayka seemed very calm and very still, like a rock. Maria says the woman had her hair down and was wearing pajamas with tiny shorts and a flimsy vest. As soon as she saw Mayka, Maria screamed and ran out of the house. She ran towards Andrew's Hummer and sat inside the vehicle for a few minutes. Soon after, Andrew went to her and told her that everything was fine and not to worry, and asked her to call the police and tell them to come quickly. However, Maria's cell phone battery was dead, and thinking that Andrew would be able to solve the problem, she decided to wait. After a few minutes, Maria heard 3 shots. Mayka had shot Andrew 3 times with a .38 caliber revolver. One of the shots hit one of the man's arms, while the other 2 hit his head. She still put the gun in Andrew's hand to simulate that he had shot himself, and then still stole his watch. Maria reports that she heard screams, and then heard a bang, and then another bang. She thought it was something being thrown down the stairs, maybe a TV or a luggage. At that moment, Mayka left the house. She had the keys to Andrew's Hummer. She went towards the vehicle and ordered Maria to get it out, fleeing with the car in the wake. Maria said that Mayka was so calm that she felt shivers down her spine. Then Maria ran to the house, but the door was locked. She called out for Andrew, but no one answered. The woman then charged her cell phone from an outside socket and called Andrew's sister and the police, all the while hoping her boyfriend was okay. The police quickly arrived at the scene and had to break down the door to get into the house, which took more than 2 hours as the door was extremely reinforced with the intention of protecting the house from possible thieves. Inside, they found Andrew's body with 3 shots and the murder weapon in one of his hands as Mayka had left it. A few kilometers away, Mayka abandoned the Hummer and continued her escape on foot. She called her current boyfriend Peter Kukucova for help. Peter was in another country when Mayka called him, but even so he got on a plane and went to Madrid to meet her. Afterwards, the 2 drove for 3 days through Europe until they reached Slovakia, Mayka's homeland. An arrest warrant was issued against her, and a few days later, she decided to turn herself in at the police station near her parents' home in the city of Osaka. She was later extradited to Spain, where she would answer for her crimes. In her statement to the police, Mayka said that she was pregnant with Andrew and that she only went after him to give him the news, which would have made the man furious. However, it was later discovered that the version of the pregnancy was false, even more so, because she and Andrew separated in October 2013, and she was arrested in April 2014. That is, she was supposed to be almost 6 months pregnant, and as you can see in the photo of the day she was arrested, it doesn't look like she was pregnant at all. Still, in her testimony, she claimed that Andrew physically assaulted her, and after a medical examination, it was found out that in fact Mayka had suffered aggression. But the police had checked the background of Peter Kukucova, the current boyfriend of the accused, and he was directly linked to it. In that check, they discovered that he already had a history of aggression and that he was probably the one who attacked Mayka, and she said it was Andrew to try to assuage her guilt. Mayka was in custody for 2 years before being put up on trial, during which time the police investigated the case fully. During investigations, police verified the hypothesis that Andrew might have taken his own life, since the way he was found led to believe that that was the case. But the path of the shots didn't correspond with the hypothesis that he had shot himself, and he also had no traces of gunpowder on his hands, not to mention the fact that he was shot twice in the head, which would be virtually impossible for him to be able to do to himself. It was also discovered that the weapon used in the crime was acquired illegally by Mayka. In fact, the weapon had the serial numbers scrapped off, and because of that, they were unable to trace its origin. Some sources claim that Mayka bought this weapon from a friend and others from a drug dealer. After the conclusion of the investigations, the trial that took place in the city of Granada, Spain began. There was wide media coverage, and the eyes of a large part of Europe were on the case, all the more so because it was so unusual. According to the prosecutors in the case, the motive for the crime would have been the fact that the woman was upset after the millionaire ended the relationship of 2.5 years between them. Mayka then would have been jealous when she saw that Andrew had started a relationship with another woman. The victim's girlfriend, Mayka Kukucova, testified at the trial and was instrumental in reconstructing the facts. She said Mayka found a way to track Andrew's steps through an app called Find My Friends, an application capable of showing in real time where anyone is at any part of the planet. For this, That person needs, in addition to having this application installed on their cell phone, to allow the other person to have access to their location. It is an application widely used by people who like to go hiking because if they get lost, they can be found easily. Maria also said that she saw the app installed on Andrew's cell phone because he used to use it, but the man had no idea what it was and the email address used to activate it was not his. Apparently, Mayka installed the application on Andrew's cell phone when they were still together, with the intention of watching his steps. In her defense, Mayka said she never intended to harm Andrew, and only did so after he allegedly attacked her and then threatened her with a gun. From then on, she said she got into a fight with the man, took the gun from his hands, and shot him in self-defense. Jurors ruled that the woman reduced the victim's chances to defense by shooting him unexpectedly as he walked into the house. Prosecutors also argued that Mayka had tried to increase Andrew's grief during his death, but the jury didn't accept that argument. Mayka was portrayed during the trial as being obsessive, immature, and that she pursued Andrew the entire time after they ended their relationship. After 4 days of deliberation, Mayka Kukucova was sentenced to 15 years in prison for the death of Andrew Bush. The popular jury was unanimous in condemning the woman, their score being 9-0. In addition to Mayka, a 26-year-old Slovak whose name I couldn't find was also sentenced to 6 months for offering the refuge. The judge in charge of the case, Ernesto Carlos Manzano, also ordered Mayka to pay Andrew's daughter a total of 122,000 euros, in addition to about 30,000 euros to the man's sister, as a compensation for the crime. In a statement, the judge said he believed it was a crime of passion and accepted as a mitigating circumstance the fact that Mayka allegedly acted in a passionate state of mind. In addition, the judge said he also took into account the fact that the woman had no criminal record and had made an apology with a broken heart after receiving the right to speak. After Mayka's conviction, Eduardo Martin, a lawyer from the victim's family, said it was clear that the judge wanted to be generous with her, perhaps just because she was so pretty. The victim's family said they were happy with the murder verdict, but expected a sentence of more than 20 years. Mayka's lawyer, Carlos Laranaga, said he would file an appeal for the reduction in the sentence. He stated that he disagreed with the jury's verdict, which accepted that it was homicide, but not murder, and stated that there are circumstances that modify his client's legal responsibility. The lawyer also revealed that he prepared an appeal arguing that the woman acted in self-defense and out of fear, in line with the claim that Andrew attacked her first. After the verdict, Andrew's ex-wife and mother of his only daughter, Samantha Mason, posted on social media, 20 years for the killer cow, I hope she rots. At no point did she apologize to my girl, and she only blamed Andrew, you scum. As for the press, she said, I'm so happy that this long and arduous journey is finally over. My heart goes out to our dear daughter, my brother, sister, and mother-in-law. No sentence would be enough for the complete devastation she was wrought to our family. Ellie Bush, Andrew's daughter, declared excitedly that she would do everything she can to make her father proud. After the verdict, she visited Andrew's grave and said, We did this for you, Dad. We finally have justice for you. A close friend of Peter Kucharik said that the boy was hopelessly in love with Mayka and would do anything to have her by his side. They still communicate through letters, and although the boy has not been related to anyone since Mayka, he has not known if he will wait for her. For the police, the couple's photos posted on Maria Kukucova's social networks were the trigger for Mayka's decision to commit the crime, who sought the chance to realize her intentions on the trip to the Spanish village. On the day of his death, Andrew had presented Maria with a diamond ring valued at 10,000 euros, and said that he wanted to discuss something important with her in the evening. Probably, the man was going to ask her to marry him. However, as we know, the conversation never took place. This was the story of death of Andrew Bush, the victim of an ex-girlfriend who was unable to deal with the end of the relationship. Well guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching until the end, best wishes, and I see you next time.